Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
Open the door, Newman. I know you're in there.
I am in here. It's episode 71 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. Back for another great show, hopefully. Going to do something we've never done on this show, and I want to dedicate this episode to someone we weren't related to. Her name's Mary Provo, but really became like a family member to my family. Was always there for us, and came to all my son's high school football games, and just a great human being. Diagnosed a few years ago with pancreatic cancer. Obviously, most know that's not that there's a good one, but that's a very bad one. And on Tuesday night, the 7th, she lost her courageous battle with the disease. And Mary was very special to my wife, probably one of her best friends, if not her best friend. I've got to know her very well, and just a great person, and it's one of those things, why do bad things happen to great people? It's one of those questions we'll never get a real good answer for, and I'm glad she's not suffering no more, not in any more pain, but I'm still sad when someone so special's no longer with us. So, episode 71, this is for you, Mary. God bless you. All right. With that being said, let's on the happier things. Today's guest, happy to have him on the show, Graig Kreindler, world-renowned artist. Done many works. His artwork in the baseball field is impeccable, stunning. Appeared in Topps Products 2019, the 150 years of baseball set there. That was his beautiful masterwork, and fellow Brooklynite like myself, even though I don't live there at this point. That's my hometown, and so got to give a shout out to the BK. But happy to have him on the show, talk about kind of how he got to start, his relationship with cards, and his career. So happy that Greg's given us some time today. Should be an interesting, interview. And artwork has a very direct perspective on cards. Baseball cards, even in particular. Cards in a sense are their own works of art. We await the new designs every year when they release them. And so cards are little pieces of art, and that's why we've had artists on the show, more than one. And Craig is just really at the top of his game in the art world and what he does. And so glad to have him on. So I know it's the cliche thing, and I've done it every week, but I'm a sincere guy, so I want to start off the show too in the intro here to say, with everything going on in the world, I hope you and yours are safe and healthy. I hope we're closer to the finish than the start. I hope you're navigating through some of these uncharted waters with your family. I hope you're still employed and doing well and doing okay. And I sincerely really hope that's the case. I want to thank you for giving us some of your time whether you're working or not working, whether you have extra time or you don't have extra time, you're giving the show an hour and a half, and I hope it brings some enjoyment to you. We're working on our 17th month now. It's a joy for me to produce the content. I really, it's work, but it's a labor of love. And you out there that are listening to the show, you are what makes it possible. So I want to acknowledge that. I want to say thank you, especially in today's current atmosphere and what's going on. All the more appreciative of that fact. It's my little outlet away from current events when I, in the studio, in the office, putting the show together. And so it's you folks out there that drive me and allow me to do it. And I want to acknowledge it. I want to say thank you, and I want to wish everybody the best as we get through this together. So thank you. So with that being said, let's get this thing started.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast. Now on tons of platforms including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Listened to in 44 different countries globally, Sports Card Nation is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, our awesome guests on the show, and our tremendous sponsors making us what we are today. Remember, without you, there's no us.
Time for this week's
Incoming!
product releases. Before I get to this week's release schedule, just a note for those that don't know, Cartamundi, who does the printing for Topps and Panini, is shut down. So these product releases are tentative, although some of the products this week should be fine, being that they were already produced, I'm assuming. So again, these are all tentative release dates with what's going on with COVID-19. April 10th, 2020, Topps Tribute Baseball. April 15th, 2020, Panini Select Baseball. 2020, Topps XFL Football. 2019-20, Upper Deck Credentials Hockey. 2019-20, Upper Deck Ice Hockey. 2019-20, Panini Impeccable Soccer. And on the 17th, 2019, Panini Chronicles Football. Again, all tentative due to what's going on at Cartamundi, the printing company for many of these releases. It's time for What's Cracking. As the COVID-19 economic effects really crunch down on the economy and the mandatory shutdowns of businesses occur, many of the ones taking it on the chin are the LCSs of the hobby, the card stores, forced to unable to open their doors. Many have had to resort to other avenues to generate income, pay their bills, pay their expenses. Many have went to breaking, where maybe they haven't before, or other types of online sales. Many are improvising and coming up with curbside delivery or drive-through delivery of orders, where people can, say what they want or purchase something and then pick it up in that fashion. And so kudos to those card shops that are thinking outside the box to stay on their feet survive. And unfortunately, I'm as a former card shop owner, I love card shops. I just have a bad feeling that as a result to this, we're going to lose some of them. But hopefully not the case. But to the ones scratching and clawing, kudos to you guys. The baseball world lost one of their legends this week. Hall of Famer Al Kaline has passed away, and while not a Tigers fan, Al Kaline, one of my favorite Hall of Famers, if you will, guy that kind of just did his talking with his play, prolific home run hitter, great hitter, not a lot of controversy, just went about, played the game the right way, great ambassador, Mr. Tiger, one of the greats ever, is gone. So rest in peace, Al Kaline. Cartamundi delays. Cartamundi is the printer that does a lot of the Topps and Panini releases. They probably do some other products as well, obviously, but very well known for doing both of those companies' work and printing on their releases. And they, obviously, with what's going on, they've had to close their doors. So future releases may be delayed, as you heard me mention in the new release portion of the show. And so things that have already been printed should make it out, but some future releases are going to be delayed, unfortunately. A lot of the Topps and Panini online demand or online exclusives aren't printed with Cartamundi, so those things shouldn't be affected. The Living Panini Instance, the Living Set, some of those on demand should be fine, and you should get those as expected. But some of the major releases are going to be, unfortunately, either delayed or, depending on how long this thing goes, we'll have to see. I don't want to say canceled, but we'll have to see how that goes. With one closing, Beckett Grading has announced they are operational, but with shorter and limited staff. So probably going to mean slow goes that race, but they are functioning on a limited capacity. And Cooperstown has announced, they haven't officially announced it, but they have hinted that maybe the induction ceremony, which this year would feature Derek Jeter, maybe the word I heard was canceled. Now, I don't know if that means they'll do it without a crowd, and maybe it'll be, broadcasted, but the word I heard was canceled, and I hope that doesn't mean entirely, which I don't think it does. You got to have an induction, even if it's, done behind closed doors or closed circuit. But, boy, that's a huge year. I mean, that crowd would have been huge with Jeter, and that, I don't know how, I agree, I don't know how you're going to do that in these times. But hopefully, maybe they figure out a viable alternative there, hopefully. Fanatics got a new line of product. If you've seen the Zion Williamson autographs out of Panini Products, he signs it Zion W, doesn't sign his full name, just the W at the end. Well, Fanatics is selling full-size or genuine tickets to the Zion debut signed by Zion Williamson, and that signature is his full one. Zion Williamson all signed out. Maybe not the best of handwriting, but I'm one to talk. So if you want a full Zion Williamson full sig, Fanatics, and you get it'll be signed on a genuine ticket, and I believe, I don't have it in front of me, I believe it's close to $1,200 a piece. And again, don't quote me there. So I said last week I want to interject a little personal hobby experience or life experience into this segment. We're going to go with a hobby happening that happened to me this week. I used to list on sports lots, then I kind of went away, and a few months ago I started putting stuff back on sports lots again. But I also buy quite a bit on sports slots. There's some deals to be had if you like to weed through some stuff. So if you follow me on social media, you know I'm buying quite a bit of the Yordan Alvarez 2020 Topps rookie, the base rookie there, and I'm very close here as we approach 200 in total. And so sometimes I'll get them from sports slots if I catch a couple lower value ones and the shipping's not too bad. And so I was looking a few days ago and I saw one at 18 cents. And, you know, let's be real, they go for anywhere from $3 to $6. And so when I saw that one for 18 cents, obviously I put it in my cart rather quickly and then read the notes or details, maybe something wrong with it. And it was just, I figured, you know, must be mispriced. But I put it in the cart, I purchased it, came out to $1.18 with shipping. And the next day I got an email from the seller with this, hey, I use a program and it auto listed it for me, and it did it at the incorrect price, and you know, big thing. So obviously rescinded the transaction. But he said he used like an auto program to list cards in bulk, and one of the bugaboos about Sports Lot is it's time consuming to list a bunch of cards on it. And this gentleman, I didn't know one existed. I'm not even sure. Quite frankly, I'm telling the story because I'm not sure I believe there's a bulk auto lister like that can list cards like that. He was claiming that his bulk auto lister just listed all the cards, and then he had to go back in and manually change the prices if he wanted them to be more than 18 cents. And that I jumped on it. It just got posted before he can price adjust. And he apologized. And, you know, I said, no problem, you know. And so, obviously, I didn't get it. But I'm not sure I'd buy it. I think, my theory is he listed it, thought he priced it at what he really wanted, must have missed it. You know, I saw it for 18 cents. I jumped on it. And I'll be honest with you, when I put it in my cart, I figured I'd get some sort of message. My bad, I priced it wrong, which he did. But I'm not sure I'm buying the bulk listing program. He said he wrote it himself. I wanted to ask him, hey, send it to me, because I'd like to bulk list and save me a bunch of time. So I didn't think something like that could work on the sports lots platform. But if you know if he's telling the truth, if this guy's for real, and you can verify, hey John, that guy wasn't lying to you, that's what probably happened, let me know. Reach out to me, give me a private message, let me know, hey, the guy was telling the truth. In the end, I didn't get the Yordan Alvarez for $1.18, but that's okay. Little interesting story for the show nonetheless. All right, real excited to have my next guest on the One of One Card Shop guest line. An artist, if you've listened to the show, you know how I feel about artists. And then when you talk about someone who does sports art, in this case baseball, highly renowned, acclaimed, has appeared in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, Sporting News, Yes Network. His stuff has appeared in Topps products. I know I probably left something out. I don't want to keep him waiting too long. I want to welcome Artist Graig Kreindler to the show. Greg, welcome.
Thank you, John. That was a really, really sweet introduction. I appreciate it.
All right, well, you can pay me later. No, I'm just kidding. But
checks in the mail.
Yeah, but no, you're world renowned.
Oh,
you know, whether you don't even have to be a card collector. If you're a baseball fan, chances are they've seen something you've done. And you know, I gotta say, I know you've heard it before, but you know, when seeing your paintings, they're just stunning, exquisite detail, and you can tell you're someone who pays attention to detail. It's just impeccable. You know, some of the paint, I call them photos because they're just so lifelike and realistic. They almost look like a photo, but you can also tell, you know, they're paintings. But just I got to say, when I've seen, whenever you post something new or something new comes out, it's just, still, the next one amazes me even more so than the previous. And I know we're both Brooklynites. My dad lived in Ebbets Field as a kid, and even though the Brooklyn Dodgers were in L.A. before I was even born, just being from Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Dodgers are kind of in my blood. I'm a huge Jackie Robinson guy. I've seen a few of the Jackie Robinson things you've done, which are obviously amazing in their own right, and just incredible work. When did you know? Like, at what age did you really know yourself? Like, hey, I got something here. I'm not too bad at this.
Well, I was pretty young. I want to say maybe I was 5 or so. Just at least it was around that time that I knew that I really enjoyed drawing. And, I got a lot of, positive feedback and reinforcement from my parents, who were just kind of like, almost obnoxiously supportive, which is, more than any kid could ever ask for. So it was kind of always ingrained in my head that, that I was going to do something in the arts, and that it was something that I knew that I was decent at, I guess. And here I am, which is, still to this day, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
but yeah, it was kind of there early, I guess.
Now, I don't want to tell you, I know from reading your bio and stuff, I know your dad was in the cards. Did that kind of trickle down to you? Since this is a sports card show, I have to ask about that aspect of it.
Oh, of course. No, I when I was younger, sports, mainly baseball cards were very, very big in my life, because my dad, like you mentioned, my dad collected cards. He was born in 1944, so, he grew up in New York, a Yankee fan, and grew up watching, Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra and those people, and he got into cards, at that right time. So, he was getting the late 40s, early 50s Bowman issues, and then, the early 50s Topps issues. And, he had the story that most people his age had, that his mom, ended up throwing out the majority of the collection. But I don't know exactly, I don't know how this happened or why it happened, but maybe there was maybe a box or two that she didn't throw out, or maybe my dad somehow convinced her not to throw it out, and he was able to kind of hold on to, a couple hundred of cards from his childhood, mostly Yankees. I think, early on, I kind of realized that they were special to him, they held sentimental value. And later I discovered, intrinsic value. So, he had, and still does, he had a Mantle Bowman rookie, and, in crappy condition or whatever, but it was his, and, he remembers pulling it from the pack and everything. And he had a few other nice ones from that era. And I guess, when he showed them to me, or when I saw them, I kind of just got into my head that they were important to him, and I just thought that they were really cool. And I kind of learned about the game, or at least the Yankee side of the game, at a pretty young age. And I developed an appreciation for baseball cards. So, this is in the mid to late 80s when I was collecting. And I'd go to conventions with him, and I'd be getting the latest Topps or Dunross issues or whatever, and I loved it. And I didn't stick with it, but I just have such great memories of collecting when I was a kid. Just so important in the grand scheme of what I do. It's been so important to me.
And cards in their own right, they're sort of like little pieces of art. And with your dad showing you some of those Bowman cards, which were really artwork, did that? What you think that was a little bit of the inspiration to what you do today at that point?
I really do. I don't remember having an aha moment or anything, or being conscious of it, but I think the fact that, I would get like a pack of 86 tops or 87 tops, and I would love how those things looked and love the photography. I'd look at my dad's cards and I'm like, wait a minute, these early Bowman issues they're illustrated. Like, these are drawings. Like,
Yeah.
I could theoretically do that. Not, not at that level, but I don't know. I think I just kind of had a connection to it, maybe subconsciously. And I think that was really important in like planting the seeds for this whole thing.
So I got to ask you, Greg, when you really started to kind of, I know you said even at 5, you sort of knew kind of then in retrospect that you were going to be something in the arts. When you started, did you jump right into painting? Was it sketches? Like, how did you start? Was it always baseball, or did you kind of start somewhere else and then gravitate towards that?
Well, I mean, it kind of started like the same stuff that I guess that your dad was doing, because it kind of started with like cartoon characters.
Yeah.
When I was young, I used to watch like G.I. Joe and
Yeah.
He-Man, religiously, and I kind of fell in love with drawing that stuff first.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that over to my father's baseball cards, and then I would try to kind of copy some of them, like especially that Mantle Bowman rookie.
Yeah.
And a couple times I think I have memories of doing. He also has a 53 Bowman color mantle that's in like beautiful condition, and I always loved that pose. I remember doing a drawing or two of that.
Yeah.
But it was always drawing. Like I never really painted until I was older. I never felt comfortable with it. It's like I felt like I had more control with a pencil and could do what I want more with a pencil. Yeah,
well, listen, at this point, I think you perfected the brush as well. Again, the kudos. I mean, your works appeared in the Yogi Berra Museum, the Bob Feller Museum, the National Jewish Hall of Fame. You appeared. The Postal Service put out a softcover book in 2012. I remember this one myself. Play ball with 12 photos. That's your work there. I mentioned 2019 Tops, the 150 years of baseball. That's you. I mean, if I left something off, fill in the blanks. But I mean, your work is like I said in the lead up is, whether you're just a baseball fan or a card collector, chances are, someone has seen your work, and again, just incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. It's weird. It's kind of weird to hear you say that, but I don't know. I guess some people are familiar with what I do.
No doubt.
Still think it's weird.
Yeah. Well, no. Listen, you might be modest, but I'm going to give you the credit you definitely deserve. When you start, I got to ask you, because I watching my dad, and I'm not comparing my dad, what my dad does to you, but watching as a younger guy, watching how my dad did some of his artwork, he would work on one piece and until it was done, and then go on to something else. Is that how you are, or can you work on multiple things at the same time?
I find that I have to kind of jump around a lot.
Yeah.
One way isn't necessarily better than the other, but that's kind of how I guess I work best. I don't get bored or anything like that. It's just that sometimes I just need a break, because these paintings can get a little intense in certain spots, and I can just say, okay, I need to look at it with fresh eyes, so I'll kind of put it aside for a few days or weeks or months or whatever, and I try to jump around a lot. I like, maybe this is not the best thing to say, but I'll say it anyway. I like feeling like I'm doing a lot. Like, it almost makes me feel kind of prolific, if that makes sense.
More productive, like I'm working on a few different things. I can definitely understand. You don't even have to apologize for something like that, and I get it.
Yeah, that's kind of like it. I like having a lot of stuff going on, and I like kind of being able to, obviously finishing something is great, but I also just like the excitement of starting something and then kind of doing a new player that maybe I haven't painted before, or a ballpark or a team or anything. It's it's healthy. Well, maybe healthy is not the right word, but it feels like it's a healthy thing for me to do. I think.
Yeah, a little therapeutic maybe is
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know like that. One of the reasons I asked you that question, are you doing kind of multiples at once? Is if you had to estimate, or maybe you can actually for generally if you put a time on how long does one painting generally, like how much manpower hours, if you will. I hate that, probably not the best term, but how much hours go into generally, like I know every painting's different, but generally how long would, if you kind of started and didn't go away from it and just if that was humanly possible, how long would a painting generally take you?
So yeah, like the main thing to consider for me at least is the size and complexity. Yeah. So like right now I'm working on a painting, or I just started a painting of Al Kaline.
Yep. Rest in peace.
It's not huge. It's like a medium-sized painting. It's about, I think, 18 by 24 or something around there. And it's kind of like a half body shot. You got a little bit of the stadium in the background. It's not terribly complicated in terms of the visuals, but something like that. If I could work straight through and there wasn't a pandemic going on,
I hear you.
It would probably take a month or two to finish, I guess.
Yeah, just incredible. And again, kudos to you. If anyone's seen your work, and if not, go look for it and check this stuff out. Your attention to detail. I mean, even fans in the stands or signs on the outfield wall. Are to the T. And you just have to see one of your works to know that this person's like impeccable attention to detail it's that apparent, and it just amazing stuff.
Oh, thank you. Or that this person has no life, which is also.
Well, no, like I said, as someone I can't even draw a stick figure to save my life. So that stuff is just always, maybe, I like I mentioned to you before we came on, having a dad that does artwork. I knew at an early age how difficult it was from watching him and not being able to do that myself. So I'm very appreciative when I see someone with that sort of talent and do it. It's just incredible, and I like to give just deserves. And so what determines your next piece? I mean, obviously people commission you, but like if you're doing something on your own, like where does is it just one of those things, hey, this idea pops in your head, or this player pops in your head, I want to do this? Well,
it depends. It kind of depends on, I guess, what's going on. I mean, for the most part, I'm working on commission, which is like, I'm incredibly lucky to be able to do that, and I, literally thank my stars like every single night. But if I'm kind of like left to my own whims, I really like painting. I like painting people that most baseball fans either don't know about or just would question why I'm painting them. Because there's seemingly nothing super special about them.
Yeah.
I like being able to do that because I'm really of the firm belief that the game and the history of the game, it has its stars and it has the legendary names, but I like thinking that the other people who made the league, who were in it, who managed the league, who were a part of it in any kind of capacity, I feel like they're just as important as the Babe Ruths and the Lou Gehrig's. Maybe not necessarily like in the same tangible way, but they're part of the overall, I like to say the overall like tapestry of the game. So I like painting those people a lot. I mean, I love painting, Mickey Mantle and Lou Gehrig. I can paint them until the cows come home. But I also like painting, Gil McDougald and Joe Collins and people like that. Like that's really exciting to me too.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that, because there was going to be a question I asked you. Is along with the big names, you do some of the lesser names, if you will. I hate saying that. It's almost like they, but you know what I mean. Some of maybe aren't as well known is probably a better way to put it, rather than use the word lesser, but maybe not as well known. But like you just said, those players in their own right are part of the story. Without them, there is no, Lou Gehrig's and Mickey Mantles. They're part of the tapestry of the sport. And I like that you paint those subjects, too, because there's been a few that I've seen you do where I didn't really know the person, and then I Googled to find out more about them and learn about them. And sort of through what you picking them as that subject, you've kind of brought them sort of to the limelight where, you know what I mean, where maybe they wouldn't have. I mean, many of them, obviously, most of them aren't here, but they are. It's still, what they've done on the field is still an accomplishment. They made it to the major leagues, which most don't. And so it's got me to find out about maybe somebody I wouldn't have discovered or learned anything about. So
Thank you. That's awesome to hear.
Yep. No, and I'm sure that they're probably looking down and probably thanking you in their own right. Hey, thanks for remembering.
Oh man.
Someone.
I wish.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure if that's the case, that is the case, and we're going to step away for a quick break, but we'll be back with more from Greg. So I wanted to talk about a new marketplace that is about to hit the sports card scene, and it's called StarStock. StarStock is building a sports card marketplace aimed to be faster and cheaper for flipping sports cards than any other platform. This is a ground level moment in the hobby, and StarStock is currently looking for people who want to be the first to sell their cards at launch of this new platform. It's due to launch in April this year, and here's what StarStock is offering you. 5% commission, no ingestion fees. You send in your cards, they do all the work and post them up for you. Cards are guaranteed and secured in their vault. Cards need to remain in the vault for trading. You can choose to ship your cards back at any time you'd like. StarStock will be a flipper's paradise. You can buy, flip, store, or ship cards with the click of a button. StarStock is only looking for sellers with rookie cards and or prospect cards of current players. For more details, that email again is mike@starstock.com. Or you can follow them on Instagram at StarStockMarket. All one word. That's at StarStockMarket. And we are back. Have you ever, I know you do baseball. Have you ever done any other sports? Have you ever thought of it? Or is it just kind of like, I'm sticking to baseball?
Well, I mean, I've mostly done baseball. I've done a few other sports here and there. Like I've done a couple of football paintings.
Yeah.
And I've done like a golf painting and a hockey painting. I'm in the middle of my first basketball one.
Okay.
The only other sport that really speaks to me like baseball does is basketball.
Yeah.
So I would like to do more. I'd like to do more of all the sports, really, but I would definitely like to have kind of a beefier portfolio when it comes to basketball. I think each sport has such a great storied history to it, in so many different ways. And I think when I was in my teens, I was just a lot more into basketball. I don't know why. I mean, it might have been my interest in maybe hip hop culture or something like that at that age. And I don't know, just learning about the Knicks and the teams
when they were good too.
Yeah, exactly. There's something about them that is really appealing to me. So, someday, hopefully I can do some paintings of those guys. I'm actually the one basketball painting that I have going on right now is of Jordan.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's actually it's kind of painful because being a Knicks fan in the early to mid '90s, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're going to do a basketball photo, he's probably one of the first ones you got to really consider doing. I can't, no one can argue. Yeah. No one can argue there. And I'm a Brooklyn Nets guy, even though they were the New Jersey Nets first. And But I grew up with the Knicks, and like you said, Jordan was kind of their arch enemy, if you will, or their nemesis is whatnot. But I think even Knicks fans can attest to the greatness of MJ. Maybe a little bit reluctantly, but you can't really deny it. Either.
Yeah, it hurts. But one thing that has been helpful for me. I mean, I appreciate Jordan very much. I still think he's the greatest I've ever seen, without a doubt. But the painting I'm doing is kind of like an homage to the 86-87 Fleer card.
Yep.
Which the image on that of him, flying through the air dunking, that image, I think is just so iconic.
Yep.
And the fact that I'm painting that makes it a little bit more okay. It still hurts, but maybe hurts a little bit less, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. Now I got to ask you, being a little nosy here, is that for someone? Is that for you? Do you do do you do a lot of stuff where, hey, this is going on my wall?
I don't. I've got one painting that I have on my wall right now that I don't want to sell. Like, it's kind of for me. I think maybe I could see myself selling it at some point, but I don't know. I usually I'm painting something for someone, or I'm painting something that I want to paint, and somehow I'm lucky enough that somebody sees it and they want it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, but I don't get to make much stuff for myself. So yeah, this Jordan's for a client.
Yeah.
Another, a card collector, more so a basketball guy than anything else. I'm doing the painting. I'm doing the image of him dunking, but also painting in the design of the Fleer card. So
okay.
I probably will do the painting again at some point of just the image.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of more my speed. And I don't know, maybe that'll be for me. Who knows?
Yeah. So do you remember like your first painting you did? Do you remember who it was, or? I mean,
my first like quote unquote mature painting.
Yeah.
I remember it very well, actually. I was 22. No, I'm sorry. I was 21.
Yeah.
And I was in my senior year of college at SVA, the School of Visual Arts here in Manhattan.
Yep.
And I was in my portfolio class, and the professor would kind of like give these assignments that were very, very vague. You'd give us like a key word, and you would basically interpret it however you wanted to interpret it.
Yeah.
And the focus of the class was to kind of just build up a portfolio of images that you could later take to art directors or whatever and get work from. So anyway, the assignment, the word that he gave us was to illustrate a relationship. And at this time, as a senior, like I hadn't drawn baseball in a long time. It was probably had been 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'd kind of fallen out of love with the game, and I kind of discovered, I guess, girls,
yep.
and being depressed and stuff like that.
Yeah, this happens in the card world too. So this is exactly. a common theme. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens, but yeah, I hadn't done one in a while, and for whatever reason, when he said illustrate a relationship, one of the first things that I thought of was the relationship between a batter and a pitcher. And at the time, I was kind of keeping up with the Yankees a bit. I'd watched them in the late 90s, like not religiously, but, I watched them enough to kind of know the team somewhat well and whatever. And there wasn't anyone, though I loved the team, there wasn't really anyone on the team that I really wanted to paint. So I kind of just thought, well, why don't I just make a painting of Mickey Mantle? He's my father's hero, and I'll make this painting for him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I set out to do, and I got really into the idea of making sure that the painting like that Mickey Mantle looked like Mickey Mantle, because I knew that, not only are baseball fans, anal about that stuff,
Yeah.
but, my father's very anal about that stuff. And
Yeah.
he would be the first to tell me, like, oh, that doesn't look like him. So I had to make sure I got that right. And then I got kind of carried away, and I was like, all right, well, Mantle looks right, but, does the ballpark look right? I mean,
Yeah.
is this what the ballpark looked like during, the time that Mantle was playing? Maybe I can actually like narrow it down to a year. Maybe I can narrow it down to an actual game. What was the weather like that day? What time was the game played? So yeah, I kind of like drove myself crazy, and I did all this research, and I made this painting, and the process of it I just fell in love with.
Yeah.
And the painting itself, like looking back on it, it's not really a good painting, but
Well, that's what you I don't know if a lot of people would necessarily agree with that, but
no, it's true, man.
Yeah.
it's not great. But when I finished it, the teacher really liked it, and the people in the class seemed to react positively to it. And I think it was like maybe one of the first times that like there was passion in my work.
Yeah.
That kind of came through. So yeah, that was kind of like. That was the aha moment.
I was just going to say, Craig, I know you said you didn't really have one, but this almost, to me, when you were telling that story and me listening to you, that was what I thought. I'm like, this sounds like when you kind of knew this is kind of the direction you really wanted to go. You found your passion, like you just said. In telling that story, it came out, your attention to detail. You wanted to get that moment right, the stadium, the colors, everything. Even like you mentioned, the weather maybe on that particular day, and where everyone else's pictures always the sun's always out on the left side of and your attention to detail. Even maybe it's not a great day, maybe it's sort of an overcast day that particular moment, and I think that's a testament to you and your work ethic as an artist, that you care about those little details. And again, anyone that's seen your work, you only have to see it for a second or two to know that whether they knew it's you painting it or not, when they see it, they're going to say, man, this artist, man, their attention to detail is spectacular.
Or he's insane, or she's insane.
Well, if that's insane, sign me up, because like I said, I can't. I'd be in trouble if I had to draw anything. It's funny. Like I said, it went right to my son. Now I don't want to. Your kids are younger, right? Yeah. Are they showing any interest, like seeing your paintings, and you think it's something that they may pursue or be into or want to do? I know they might be too young even to say that, but
yeah, it's hard to say right now. So I have two boys. They're 2.5 and 4.5.
Yeah,
and it's probably a little early to say, but neither of them have really been like, oh, I love to draw.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm a painter, and my wife is a writer.
Yeah.
So both of us are creative and crazy in our own way, and I think that it is going to kind of manifest itself in some way in both of our kids. But I don't know if they're going to end up being artists or writers or whatever. I think they're going to kind of look at the world probably in kind of a weird way, kind of the same way that I guess we do. Yeah.
Now, I've got to ask you this. You're in New York. I hope everyone's well. It's obviously my hometown. With your two boys, I know, like you just gave their ages. They're very young. All right, how are they? I always ask this when I talk to someone with young kids. Are they kind of aware what's going on, or not? Are they too young to really know what's kind of going on?
I mean, so the 2.5-year-old, he knows, I think he understands that things are different right now. He's certainly not able to quantify it. His routine has obviously changed a lot.
Yeah.
He's also, he's 2.5, so obviously his brain is is growing and
Yeah.
is doing what 2.5-year-olds do. The 4.5-year-old, he I think really understands that something is wrong.
Yeah.
That something is just off because he's in pre-K,
Yeah.
and pre-K stopped.
Yep.
So this is something that he got used to. Like, he got used to a routine and used to a schedule, and that
Yeah.
stopped. My wife's mother and one of her aunts come over like 2 or 3 times a week, or used to come over 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And he loves the two of them like more than anybody, and he doesn't get to see them anymore. So that's like another thing
Yeah. Yep.
that has been kind of taken away. And we can't, like, when we go outside, we have to be really careful and mindful of what we're doing, what we're touching, where we're
Yep.
going. It's
Yep.
just it's like my wife and I would talk about this a lot, and it's like the 3 things that he loves the most, going outside, having the routine of school, and seeing his family.
Yep.
Like, it's been taken away from him, and it's hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard.
I can imagine, thinking about, my son's 20, and so he's obviously got a real good grasp. I mean, he's home from college for the same reason. And I just, knowing your kid, I'm a dad, so I always come at it from a dad perspective. You worry about not only just your own kids, but just kids in general.
Yeah.
And, hopefully, obviously, this is over sooner than later, and things can get back to normal for if just for the youth and the kids alone. That's important. But
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel too good about it, but
I
hope you're right.
every day you hear one thing, you hear another. Sometimes it's even hard to, like, what's correct, what's not correct, and I guess one day at a time, the old cliche standby. But I mean, you really don't have a choice but to do it that way. And you hope I say it on the show when I start this show, Greg, I just hope everyone's doing well and helping everyone out the best you can, and getting through it, and that we're closer to the end than the beginnings of it. So, but
that's the important thing, though. It's like, I'm not going to get political or anything, but I think, regardless of where we are with anything, it's like, I just think we need to be good to each other and helpful. And the quicker that happens, I feel like the quicker we can move ahead. I think.
And maybe, from dark clouds come, silver lining sometimes. One of the things I hope is when this is all passed and done is maybe, people will be more concerned with other people rather than so much self-centered, and help others and care about how their actions or what they do actually repercussion with others. And so maybe that'll be a good thing that comes from a bad thing, when the smoke kind of clears, if you will. And I hope that's the case, and I think it will. I think it will to some level. How much of a level we'll have to wait and see, but I think that'll be one positive that comes is from that is I think people will understand how what you do can impact someone else, good and bad. Both sides of that coin. So and so hopefully people will be better people when this thing is we've passed that stage we're in now. So
and it's like, as I agree with you, like, wholeheartedly. And sometimes I get upset at myself because I get caught up in, like, my selfish stuff. Like, obviously, I want my kids to be okay, and I want us, my wife and I, to be okay. But I think of, this is something I'm sure you can relate to. I think of, like, the National, in Atlantic City. I think of that being canceled, and I'm like, that would make me really sad. Because it's one weekend each year that I really look forward to, and
listen, you don't have to feel bad. I feel the same way, and I'm hoping it still happens, and then I can meet you in person for sure. And it's funny because my son, I asked my son couldn't go last year in Chicago. And so I asked him, being in Atlantic City, we're driving. Last year it was just me and I flew. But being here in Syracuse, it's only 5.5 hour drive. My wife and her friend are planning to go, and they're not into the sports cards or they're just gonna read a book on the beach and enjoy, make a little vacation out of it. But I asked my son, his name's Jordan. I'm like, Jordan, you want to go? And he's like, yeah, I'd love to go this time. So he's planning to go, and here we are talking about an event that unfortunately, like you said, it'll be sad, may not occur. And we're getting to that point. I think you know where I'm going here, Greg. The closer we get to it, at some point they're going to have to make a decision. And I've even heard them potentially pushing it back, which honestly, if they do that, I'm probably not going to be able to attend, because I've already scheduled work off and accommodations and those things that I don't think I can kind of that quickly manage to reschedule. So I'm hoping, maybe something breaks here with COVID-19 quickly, where they're able to maintain the original schedule. You always, you try to remain optimistic. I mean, if you put me on the hot seat and ask me to give my honest assessment, and I don't. This is just a strictly opinion, not based on me talking to anybody in particular. It's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult. Yeah. When you know how the national goes, you got all these athletes and celebrities with itinerary to bring in, accommodations. Some of them are probably not going to want to travel and meet a ton of people if this thing is not kind of quelled by then. And so I don't know. I'm hoping we get some good news and a kind of turn of the corner, if you will. But if I had to say one today, if I think it's going to happen, probably not. I'll just answer it like this: I'd be very surprised if it happens on the dates it's scheduled for, knowing where we are now in the world. But you never know. You never know, and it's not my decision. So that's an answer right there, and I'm sure they're working behind the scenes and trying to sort this out and figure out some scenarios or even a plan B, if you will. And I expect probably in the next few weeks we may, probably here, we're at the beginning of April, probably third or fourth week in April, they're probably going to have to say something one way or the other. And obviously it depends where we are with the progression of the virus as well. So
yeah, well, I mean, let's say things start to get better. I think in New York, I think the peak is supposed to be this week or next week. Yeah. If they do keep it going on the same weekend, would you feel comfortable going?
Yeah, that's the other question. It's a great question, Greg. I mean, it's something you honestly got to think about. Now, it's the last week in July and the front part of August, and that's even though it's not far away, it's not super close either. Somewhere in that intermediate range. So a lot can change. I mean, I'm sure if the event takes place, it's going to be probably different, because you're going to be walking around and probably seeing people wearing masks over their face and maybe gloves, and not something you're accustomed to seeing at a national, But I'm sure people, if the event occurs, I'm sure people are going to take all those precautions. You can't really blame them. I'm not picking on them or making fun of them. I'd like to think we'd be at a stage where maybe we wouldn't have to go to that extreme, hopefully. Maybe I'm wishful thinking, but we're going to take a quick break to pay a couple bills. But when we come back, more Nationals talk with Graig Kreindler. Let me tell you about Iron Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're your number one source for all your PSA grading submission needs. They're constantly submitting, so they are always at the ready when you're ready. They offer various turnaround levels at the lowest prices around. Cards are insured to and from PSA at no additional cost to you. And they even provide the card savers your precious cards need to be put in before being sent to PSA. They take care of that for you. And because of their elite status at PSA, they have some of the best turnaround times around. They even have group chats for each submission, so you know exactly where your status is on your cards. They have open dialogue and open communication. What are you waiting for? Contact Rob on Facebook, on Iron Sports Card Group. That's Iron Sports Card Group on Facebook. Or get a hold of Rob on Twitter at Iron Sports Cards. All one word, at Iron Sports Cards. They'll take care of you. We're back. Let's continue our discussion about the National with Graig Kreindler. You know, that's the other thing too, Greg. I think about is even when this is all done and we're past where we are, you know, are people going to still kind of just in a sort of a panic of it happening again? Is gloves and people wearing masks going to be kind of, we're going to see more of that even when we're past? I just wonder. You know, I'm a handshaker. I was always raised to shake someone's hand, look them in the eye. I love that. I was raised that way, and I just wonder if we're going to lose that art of the handshake with certain people. I know I'll go right back to it and wash my hands if I have to, but are some other people not going to do that anymore? You know what I mean? They're just going to be like, hey, you know, I extend my hand to shake theirs, and they're like, hey, just some knuckles, or let's touch out. You know, is it going to change how we interact in the future with people? And I hope it doesn't. The selfish part of me that I just hope we don't lose some of that personal things that we exchanges and greetings that I sort of enjoy, and I hope we can go back there and we don't lose some of that. I'm sure there'll be a few people that will change how they operate, and I'm not gonna. No, it's nothing personal, but I don't shake hands anymore, and I just hope that's more the exception than the rule, I guess. You know, there's so many things we don't know. You know, how's this going to really affect people and alter what we do on a daily basis? You know, and we'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we. I mean, I say we. I'm not necessarily like in the hobby, but
I'll stop you. To me, you know, you're an integral part of the hobby. To me, I mean, you've appeared. Well, I consider myself part of the hobby. No one's opening the pack of cards and seeing something I did in there. So.
Yeah, but you're talking to people, involved in the hobby. The sound clip of you opening a pack at the beginning of the show.
Well, we all have different role. You know what I mean? It's like a movie. We all play different parts. I think you have a very important part in the hobby, and that's why I'm having you on. Well, not just for that, but for sure. And so I wouldn't sell yourself short. I'm not going to let you. So like I said, you're 150 years of baseball last year in the Topps release. That's you, and I know that set is widely popular. And I don't care if you open a 2019 baseball pack in 2039. Whoever that pulls that card out, that's your work there. And so can never take that away from you. And I'm I've said this probably more than once today already. I'm a credit due kind of guy, or proper credit to someone who puts in the work and hones their craft. I think they should be recognized as such. And so when you're hearing you say that, I'm like, no, I'm gonna stop from. I usually don't try to cut people up. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do that here because
All right, well then, us being in the hobby.
Yeah.
How do you think about this? Like, this is people don't need baseball cards. It's a luxury. It's a passion. Is that something that gets affected by this negatively, and maybe it gets affected by it positively? I mean, maybe people need the escape more.
I think it's a double. I hate to use this term, but I think it fits here. I think, Greg, it's a double-edged sword. I think you can make points for either case. You know what I mean? If it comes down to, hey, I can buy that box of cards, or I can pay my electric bill someone should pay their electric bill.
Right.
If it's, hey, I have that discretionary income still, I'm still employed, thankfully, I'm going to open that box of cards and kind of for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, I open it, sort it, look through the cards, look at just the backs and the stat, just to get a kind of a reprieve for what's outside my window, let's say. And so I think you can make, I guess it depends on the person. One person will tell you it's one thing to them, and one person will tell you it's the other end. And I've said on this show, I love the hobby. My wife's a nurse. She's temporarily laid off. She's not in an emergency setting. I'm in the transportation industry, and that's right now, it's huge. But, I even got a little bit of a scare. I've said this on the show, I think last show, a little bit of scare last week. I teach an orientation class with new drivers and returning drivers. And a lot of our students and rehires come from New York City. And so, with them restricting travel, our corporate offices are in Phoenix, Arizona, and they initially called us up and said, we're not going to be doing classes in Syracuse right now. We're gonna pause them. I didn't know what, so that announcement's made 8 a.m. on Thursday, and I didn't know what that meant. They didn't go into any more details other than to say we're not doing the class. And then literally 4 hours later, they're like, no, we're not gonna. Classes are back on, but we're just gonna limit the size and where we bring folks in from. And so, but I could go into work next week and then they say, hey, we're not doing it again. Maybe things took a turn for the worse or something. So you don't know. And if that's the case, I'd be lying to say I would still do the same exact things purchase wise in the hobby, because you can't. You gotta keep your priorities in the right order. And so I can understand someone who says, hey, I can't spend that $100 this week that I was planning to. I just got bad news at my employment, and I know a lot of people, you get unemployment. No one really ideally wants to be on that. It's a lot of unknowns with that. And I think most people who have a job want to keep that job and not get bad news. And so, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a great point by you that you can look at it. It's I guess it depends what side of the street you're on. For someone that's maybe employed, you're like, hey, this is my escape from reality for an hour or two. I'm entitled to that. And for someone who maybe doesn't have that, they've lost some of that income, even if it's temporarily. Hey, I got to pay my electric bill before I can open that box of cards, and that's just smart. I mean, you have to do that. That's why you hope from a selfish hobby standpoint, you just hope this, and just in general, from a life standpoint as a human, you just hope this is over sooner rather than get drawn out and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. But Greg, I want to thank you for making some time for us, man. Your work, just you don't need me to give my stamp of approval, but just incredible stuff.
I appreciate that stamp of approval very much.
And again, before I let you I always let the guests kind of give out any of their websites and stuff. But before we even get to that, just continued health and safety for you and the family and everyone there. I'm a New Yorker, so it's a little home for me. And continue, be safe, be well. Give out where people can find your find your work, your website, you anything you want to give out. Take your time. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, first, I thank you again for having me on, and I certainly hope that you and yours also stay safe and healthy here. Especially since, you were a Park Slope boy, I live in Kensington right now, so we're not too far.
Yeah, almost neighbors.
But, I mean, if anyone wants to see me, or better yet, see what I do, no one really wants to see me, you can go to my website, which is greigkreindler.com. It's Graig, like Greg Nettles, Kreindler, Kreindler. I'm also on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm all around. I try to keep myself busy with all that stuff. So
Yeah.
you can find me somewhere.
Awesome stuff, man. Incredible works of art. I mean, I'm a baseball guy, but I don't care. Even if you weren't a baseball guy, I mean, there's no way someone can look at what you do and not be stunned or impressed. And so keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. And that may be, your work. I'm sure you probably thought about this a little bit. What you do might be an escape for someone. If that artwork's hanging on that wall, it kind of brings back. Maybe it's a player they saw as a kid. That might be the escape in current times for someone. What you did, you know what I mean. Your work might be sort of their outlet or something to take their mind off current events, if you will.
You might be right.
Yep.
It's a very good point. As frightening as it is, it's a very good point.
Yep. Well, Craig, thanks again. Be safe, be well. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Same to you and yours.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoy the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
All right, time for the segment, What Does the Newman Say? And what this segment is, folks, is I get asked, between 2 to 5 questions a day on my social medias, questions pertaining to the hobby, and I respond to everyone. That's a pet peeve of mine. I'll answer every message sent to me at some point, usually rather quickly, but I don't ignore any inquiries. So, I answer a few of these messages each day, and then I thought to myself, there's probably other people maybe not asking this question, but maybe wondering about this question. And so what I'm going to do when I do this segment is one of those questions I really get asked, I'm going to do during this segment and answer it for everybody rather than just respond to the one person. Now, I am going to respond to the one person, but I'm also going to put the question out here publicly on the show and answer it out loud. So that's what this segment is. I don't know if it'll run every week, but we'll try to get it in the show as much as possible. So for this edition of What Does the Newman Say? So a question I get asked quite often on some of my social medias is especially after a show where maybe I don't say something very flattering about someone, or someone's accused about something and I report it, or I give my opinion and it's a harsh one. I get asked a lot, am I worried that that person either will get mad or will never come on the show or that sort of thing? And so, my answer to that is, we all have opinions. We all have how we feel. And I'm always going to be honest about it, good or bad. And so, no, I really don't worry about that, And if, like I said on the show, if I've said something about someone, I believe in equal time. So, they're welcome to come on the show and counterpoint me if that's the case. So no, I don't tend to lose much sleep with that stuff because, listen, you're getting my honest opinion. You're always going to get that. So, and I don't want to be known for otherwise. So there's your answer to that. No, I don't worry too much about those type of things. One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like one of one. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way. All right, that's going to do it for episode 71 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. I want to really say thank you to my guest, Graig Kreindler, for giving us some time in my hometown of Brooklyn, New York. And, that city's getting racked pretty hard with the COVID-19. And so, shout out to my hometown. Hope everyone is doing okay. I still have family there. But getting back to Graig, for him to make some time with what's going on and didn't have to do that, and he did, and I appreciate that. An incredible artist and integral part of the hobby that we love here. And so I'll have him on again, hopefully under better times. And, it was nice getting to talk to him, not only about his artwork and how that all came about, but, I've said with this show before, we're going to interject life in there too, and we did. We talked about what's going on, how it's affecting his two boys, and whether you're huge in the hobby or not, we're human beings, and so it's not always just about the cardboard and the chrome and life. Is involved here as well, and with what's going on. I don't want to always be the focal point, but at the same time, we can't bury our heads in the sand and pretend it's not going on as well. So I hope you enjoyed that interview, learned a little bit about Graig if you didn't know about him and what he does. Just an incredible, talented individual artist who's done a lot of work in the hobby, and I'm sure he will in the future as well. So again, thanks, Graig, and everyone out there, what's going on right now. I just want to say, be kind to each other, help people out when you can. I understand we want to protect ourselves and stay healthy and stay safe, and no doubt you should. But protect yourself. Wear gloves. Wear a mask as being instructed. But you can still help your neighbor out. If they need something, you can drop it off, leave it on their porch. You can still do all the random acts of kindness you do or have done under normal conditions. You can do still a lot of good even without leaving your house. Even if it's just folks calling someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe you're thinking about it. Make that call. Life is a frail thing, and you just don't know. Like I said at the beginning of the show, my family lost someone very close to us this week. And it's you just don't know. Life is short. Here today, and you don't know when the ride stops. And so, you don't want to have regrets if you can prevent them. So, reach out, call someone, stay in touch. Maybe it's someone you haven't talked to in a while, family, friend, what have you. That phone call can make a difference in someone's life. So I just want to say that be good to each other. It makes you feel good, and it's just a good thing to do. And just my 2 cents on that. So back to the hobby stuff. Got some great shows upcoming here in the next couple of weeks. Episode 72, another New York City artist, super talented. Blake Jamerson, who's commissioned to do some of the 2020 Tops, Project 2020 for Tops, and I just saw the Ryan he did, which I gotta be honest with you, spectacular. And I've seen some of these other ones, with all due respect to the artist, not impressed, but this one was impressive. Blake is an extremely popular artist, and glad he's going to come on the show next week. Tell us a little bit about this project, how he's going about it, a little bit about himself and what he's doing. And again, art's an integral part of the hobby. Tentatively scheduled for episode 73 is former Major League pitcher Randy Lerch, author of the book God in the Bullpen, and double-digit years in the big leagues with numerous teams, the Brewers, the Giants, Phillies, and Expos, and very good player in his day, but he overcame some demons, some addictions to drugs and alcohol. Wrote a book, pretty much tell all, and he put himself out there. I read that book, and incredible, and he's overcome those addictions to become an inspiration to others, and wants to help others beat their demons as well. So we're going to have him on. We're going to talk about his struggles with addiction, his major league career. We can't forget about his accomplishments in the big leagues, the inspiration that and good friend that Tug McGraw was to him, and like he said in the book, he wouldn't have survived without Tug. And so we're going to talk about a lot of things about his career, after his career, and it's a great book, God in the Bullpen, and Randy Lerch will be our guest on episode 73. So we're looking forward to talking to Randy. So we got a lot of stuff coming up, more giveaways, a little bit of reprieve, take your mind off things that are going on in the real world, if you will. And again, I just want to close with saying to everybody, thank you for allowing me to do the show. And again, it's you, the listener, that allows me to produce the show, perform the show. It's a passion of mine. I enjoy it. It's my sort of outlet, my sort of reprieve from what's going on. But it's you that, gives me the freedoms and the motivation to produce this thing. And a sincere thank you, like I said in the opening as well. It's not lip service. It's really how I feel, and I want to say thank you for that. I look forward to continue to do this show and produce content. So thank you. Check out some of the other shows I'm involved with. Our short form podcast, Hobby Quick Hits, found on most podcast platforms, and Hobby Hotline every Saturday morning live. Call in 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And so with that being said, we'll call it a day. We'll see you in a week. Everyone, stay safe, help others, be kind to people. Take care. God bless.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.